Namaste, this is Charidas broadcasting to you, or making this Zoom recording from the Krishna Temple in Spanish Fork. You can see it just behind my shoulder there against the backdrop of the Wasatch Mountains. Significant of this week is that we celebrate one of the main festivals in the Indian calendar called Diwali, or the Festival of Lights. So here's a slideshow, which will help you understand a little bit more about it and consequently hopefully enjoy it more fully. This is the Om symbol. And Diwali, here's the meaning of the word. It's a composite of two words. Diya means light or lamp, and Ali means a line or a row of lights. So Diwali means the festival of lights, specifically refers to a row of lights being lined up. And it references the great epic Ramayana, the story of Lord Ram, an incarnation of the Godhead who appeared thousands of years ago. He was due to be coronated as the king in Ayodhya, the capital city of India at the time. But on the morning of his coronation, due to a palace conspiracy which had occurred during the night, instead of being anointed as the king, he was sent into exile for 14 years. During the period of his exile, he endured a lot of trials and tribulations. The citizenry of Ayodhya especially missed him. But when he came back in triumph after 14 years, everyone welcomed him by lighting lights and making rows of lights on the walls and the windowsills. Every place there was a flat surface, people lit lights to welcome Lord Ram back after 14 years of exile. So a big part of the festival is the lighting of lamps, offering them within the temple, and simultaneously make a wish. This is our version of New Year and Thanksgiving rolled into one. The end of the year for those who are farmers is going to be in November, because that's when you've harvested all your crops and you've done all your canning, all your preserving, and everything's stored away for the winter. So the hard work is done. There's plenty of food for the time being, so you celebrate with a big feast and a festival. You give thanks. And you also make a wish for the new year, just like we do later on in January. You offer the light and you make the wish at the same time. Light in the Indian culture is synonymous with knowledge, truth, energy, warmth. The Godhead is said to be light. Ignorance is darkness. People wish each other good luck. They wish each other prosperity, health, abundance, creativity, insight. These are some of the decorative elements that you'll see hanging and decorating the Indian metropolitan areas during the Festival of Lights. Fireworks is a big part of Diwali. Part of Diwali is the celebration of Ram finally defeating his enemies. Light triumphing over darkness, good triumphing over evil, and that's celebrated inevitably with a big fireworks display. The goddess of fortune is also worshipped at the time of Diwali. It's due to her blessings that one gets a good crop, has a good home, enjoys health, prosperity, inner peace, inner contentment. God of fortune or God of wealth. You can see she's got coins coming down from her hand there, but she's not just the God of money in the bank. Contentment, wealth comes in many different forms, health and inner peace. So people wish for prosperity in all of its forms by worshiping the goddess of fortune at this time. This is the day when she emerged from the ocean of milk. That's a day when you can get special blessings by making an offering to her. If you're a businessman and not a farmer, Diwali is also the new year in as much as you close your books. It's the end of the fiscal year when you close your books. And thank God for the profits that the previous year's business activities have brought you. And then you pray to Lakshmi to have another profitable year next year. There's a legend, I'll just tell you briefly. the gods and the demons, the gods and the ungodly, who you see down in the bottom of this picture here, one time churned the ocean of milk in order to produce amrita, a nectar that would prolong their lives. And many byproducts came from the churning of this ocean of milk, one of which was Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune. And many festivals are celebrated too, synonymously with the churning of the ocean of milk, because not only Lakshmi, but many other auspicious divinities emerged from the ocean. Here is Dhanvantari. He's the one that ultimately delivered the pot, drinking which the gods and the demons were able to prolong their lives. But many other auspicious items came as a result of the churning of the ocean of milk. And so this Diwali commemorates also the appearance of Lakshmi, the appearance of Dhanvantari, the churning of the ocean of milk. And later on, after the nectar was obtained, the demigods, the godlies, were able to drink it and deprive the ungodly of the opportunity to drink it. The Diwali celebration is several days long, and each day has a different special meaning. There's one day for brothers and sisters to share love and good wishes. It's also a day when the sisters anoint their brothers with the red dot in the middle of the forehead. It's called tika or tilak. And it basically is a blessing. The lotus flowers are mostly red. They also have a kind of a powder on their surface that if you were to touch it, you'd get that powder in your finger, and then you could make a red dot on someone's forehead with it. The lotus flower is important because it grows within water, and yet it never gets wet. Even if you splash the lotus flower, the water beads and sloughs off, so that just a few minutes later, the lotus leaves are bone dry. So the lotus can be said to be in the water, but not of the water. And so the best wish that you could have for somebody is to do their duties as a parent, as a husband, as an employer, as a citizen perfectly, but with detachment, knowing that this life is temporary, that we ourselves are spirit souls, and we have a greater destiny than just the here and now. A lot of ladies make elaborate patterns out of colored powders on the floor, particularly the entrances to residences and to temples. And one of the reasons why the patterns are so elaborate, they're meant to keep away evil spirits. Evil spirits are typified by impulsiveness. They don't think something through. Their senses latch on to something. They're hearing something nice, smelling something nice, seeing something nice, so they just go straight for it. They don't have any sophistication or any sense of strategy or tactics or delicacy. They see something, they become attached to it, and they run right for it. So the elaborate patterns that cover the entranceways of temples and homes are meant to be so complicated that the evil spirits cannot succeed in negotiating the maze created by those patterns, and thus cannot enter and disrupt the festivities that are going on inside. There's a pattern. It's meant to baffle a mischievous spirit. You can see, of course, the Festival of Light. It's not surprising that all the main buildings and houses are illuminated on that particular day. Everyone cooks sweets on Diwali. They share sweets with each other. They bring sweets to the temple. I remember one year in Spanish Fork, we advertised the Diwali festival. I told my wife towards the end of the day, I said, we didn't really cook much, did we? She said, don't worry, people will bring things to the temple. They'll cook at home and bring things to the temple. And she was so right. They did bring things, but they were all sweet. So the plates I would distribute on that day were rice and like 5 kinds of sweets. Not exactly the most healthy, balanced diet. So we made sure that we cooked a balanced meal every year after that, and then just put the sweets on the plate, not just a meal of sweets. Diwali is celebrated all over the world. Indians have emigrated everywhere, and it's such a friendly, amicable event, brings people together, celebrates diversity. There isn't any part of the world where you won't find Diwali celebrated. In fact, the comedy series The Office had an episode about Diwali, which was hilarious. The ladies dress up in their finest garb, put on jewelry, bangles, makeup, beautiful, gorgeous saris, such as the lady you see before you here. Some of the stories behind Diwali, as I mentioned, it comes in the fall. It comes after the crops have been harvested, after all your canning and preserving is done. It's very much synonymous with an agricultural calendar. The farmers are said to place lamps in the fields to keep the predators and the birds away from eating their crops at this time. As I said, Thanksgiving, Diwali is kind of Thanksgiving slash New Year for the Indian people. Now this refers to what I alluded to in the beginning, the epic of the Ramayana. Ram, you see, up in the upper left hand, along with his consort Sita, was banned to the forest. And he lived there for 14 years in exile. During that time, his wife was kidnapped, and he had to retrieve her. There was a big battle, which Ram won the battle. Then he got his wife back. And finally, by airplane, it's actually described in the Ramayana that he returned to Ayodhya by Pushpa Vimana, by an airplane made of flowers. Here you see the Ravana, the king Ravana, with his 10 heads, having captured Sita. You see Ram being despondent, having no idea of where his wife was taken to after she was kidnapped. And then, because Ram was living in exile in the forest, he made an alliance with the monkeys who lived there. And he raised an army of monkeys. They discovered that Sita was being held captive on the island of Sri Lanka, which was several hundred miles off the coast of India. So you can see in one of the panels here, the monkeys built a huge bridge, several hundred miles. They crossed over to Lanka. And then in this frame here, you see the battle for Lanka taking place, the battle for the retrieval of Sita. And here you see now Ram is triumphant. He's killed Ravana. He's got his wife back. And he's coming by airplane back home back to Ayodhya. And then in the last frame, after 14 years delay, hiatus, Ram is finally coronated as the king of Ayodhya, where he and the citizens live happily ever after. This is the famous picture called Ram Durbar. Ram is there as the centerpiece with his bow. To Ram's right is Lakshman, his faithful brother who endured the 14 years of exile in the forest. His wife Sita also accompanied him to the forest. And then Hanuman is the leader of the monkeys who helped Ram out to get Sita back and destroy Ravana. It's interesting to note that this is the governor's mansion, the upper floor, all the way back, beginning with the administration of Governor Levitt. Diwali has been celebrated in the governor's mansion. That's myself there. I've been part of each and every one of them. I believe it's 16 years now. And most states celebrate Diwali just like Utah, but Utah was the one of the first 2 states to start celebrating Diwali. And interestingly enough, there used to be the offering of lamps, but in the governor's mansion now you're not allowed to light any flames. So we can only use electric lamps for the offerings. Standing over to my right is the priest from the Ganesh temple, the other Hindu temple, which is there in Salt Lake City. His name is Satish. And he has a very elaborate puja with Sanskrit mantras to Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune. And you see a few of the guests. Most of the distinguished people in Utah attend, about 150 people, about half Indian, half Westerner. President of Utah Valley University, president of Utah State University, president of Utah Opera, president of Zion's Bank. They all enjoy attending Diwali. It's interesting that because Diwali celebrates life in whatever forms it appears, the catered dinner on that particular occasion is non-flesh. It's a totally non-violent vegetarian dinner, which everyone partakes. This is going back to Governor Huntsman, right? Chatting, having a chuckle at something. I'm not sure what. This is also a corollary festival. I won't go into the details, but Christian devotees celebrate another festival called Govardhan Puja in connection with this particular occasion. What I'm going to do now, because I was asked to also tell you a little bit about the Spanish Fork Temple, I'm just going to play, if I can get the technology down, and if this opens enough. Yes, here we go. So this is a little promotional tourist video that one of our members did about the Spanish Fork Temple. It's not the most professionally done job in the world, but if you haven't been to the temple, it might whet your appetite to do so. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare All right. And just in case you're wondering, they weren't chanting Hari Lama. They were chanting Hari Rama, as we've previously described. That concludes our presentation. I hope it satisfied some of your curiosity. We're also open 7 days a week down here in Spanish Fork, even during the pandemic, from 10 in the morning to 8 at night. You're welcome to visit personally. As you can see from the preceding slides, in normal times, we host tons and tons of school tours, about 3,000 kids every year. They come for yoga, they come for animal handling, more often than not, lunch, a little bit of music, and a Q&A period. You may not be able to do that at the moment, but if you have any questions, you're welcome to visit our website, utahkrishnas.com. If you'd like to ask me a question, you can email us at utahkrishnas@gmail.com. So that's all we have now. Again, thank you very much for the opportunity, and I hope that this was helpful in your studies.